This is Asinine Radio. This is the weekly music podcast where every week we get into a different band, different artist, and we break down one of their records. We get into the music, the lyrics, how it was made, and everything in between. And we are in punk season right now. We are getting in. I think we're kind of nearing the end of punk season right now. But what are we doing this week, Jeff?
We're doing Fear, the record.
Fear, the record. Yeah. So while you're listening, go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. And yeah, if you didn't already know, my name is Tyler, and way out there, hundreds of miles away, is Jeff. So yeah, just go do that. Normally we do a rankings episode where we listen to the band, all of the band's records, and we rank them from worst to best. And we did. We actually listened to all of the Fear records, and we did do that. But we didn't feel like it wasn't necessary to make a full episode on it because a lot of it was just there just wasn't much to talk about. So we'll just run through that real quick, like probably in like under a minute. So let's get into that real quick. Let's get your. We just want to go back and forth like we normally do.
Yeah, one of these I had to listen on YouTube's, right?
Yeah, one of them was on YouTube.
To American Beers on YouTube's.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, American Beer. That's my least favorite. Just fucking
Really?
silly kind of bluesy punk thing. Like it's fine. It's just meh. It's not what I want.
Okay. My number 6 is the Fear record, which was the re-recording of their first record. Did you bring that one on there?
Huh?
Did you put that in your rankings?
Of course.
Okay,
I was my number 6.
Oh, that's right. You did say that. So what do you got for number 5?
The Fear record. They're re-recording. It didn't add anything. It just only took away.
Yeah, I mean that's really how I felt about it too. There was no reason for it. Even the band doesn't even like it. They took it off all the streaming sites, or Leaving at least doesn't like it. All right, so my number 5, American Beer from 2000, 4th album. Half of the songs here were written in the 70s and 80s, and then the other half of the songs were just written at that time. Another new lineup of the band. It was fine. I mean, honestly, none of their records are bad. None of them are bad. But you just got to kind of put it somewhere. American Beer falls there. And I don't understand why it's not on the streaming site. So we had to watch it on YouTube, or listen to it on YouTube. But whatever. American Beer, my number 5.
I don't mind the YouTubes that much anymore because I just do it at work now.
Oh,
and so like when I know I'm going to do it on the YouTubes, I leave my post and I just go walk around and do shit at the store, like put records away, organize whatever it is. So like I don't mind it anymore.
You have a system now.
It doesn't irritate me as much as it used to.
And now you have ad blockers, so you don't have to sit through the ads.
That's true. I don't even like.
Yeah.
Man, I'm like I've instantly gotten spoiled with the ad blockers. I don't even remember the last time I listened to an ad on YouTube.
The ad blocker extension on your browser that's been around for 20 years now. You're just now getting into it.
The thing works wonders. I wonder if there's is there a way you can see how many it blocks?
Maybe if you might be able to. Yeah,
I don't want to start clicking stuff. I don't want to start clicking stuff.
Well, there's also this app called Ghostery that I use on Firefox, and what that does is it lists all the apps or all the websites that track you and gather your information. And you go onto a website like Facebook, and there's like 300 different like things that track your every movement on Facebook for ad revenue and all this kind of shit. And it's kind of like overwhelming, like how much you're just kind of like all your information is being pulled onto various websites and programs and all kinds of shit. It's fucking nuts. That's a cool extension to have too. But anyway.
Is that just does that do something, or is it just for like that's interesting?
It used to do something. It used to like help. It used to actually what it does, it blocks a lot of it. Not all of it, but it blocks a lot of it, so you don't get like targeted ads as much. So it does block a lot of the tracking stuff.
And I'm no like computer engineer, and I don't know a whole lot about these newfangled computers, but I feel like if you're being tracked on one website, then you might as well be being tracked on like a million. Like, what's the fucking difference? Because that one website is just gonna, you know what I mean? Especially nowadays
when people only use like at the max 10 different websites. You know what I mean? It's like you get your social media websites, a couple news websites, Wikipedia, and that's pretty much it. That's all you do. That's all you use. Most people use.
That's all you need.
So
that's it.
What do you got for number 4?
Number 4, Have Another Beer with Fear, 3rd record. This was the most bleh out of all the records I listened to. This was just run-of-the-mill boring. This was boring. Very boring.
See, I didn't find any of their music boring. I found
this record boring.
Oh, okay. All right. So my number 4, For Right in Order, their last record, 6th record from 2023. It's not bad at all. It's just slower. And my boy Jeff Kresge played bass on this record, and which is cool. It's really, really cool. It's like one of his favorite bands. So it's cool that he got to play with Fear for 5 years, and he got to play on a record, but I just thought it just wasn't necessary. And Lee just sounds old. Like he was like 72 when he recorded this record, you know. So I don't know. I would never really go back to it, but it was a fun listen. It was a fun listen. So what do you got for number 3?
Number 3, More Beer from Fear, second record. It's just their second record. Like it's, you know, their first record was so shocking and so wild and so over the top. Like you're not going to be able to follow it up. It's cool. There's a lot of cool things going on. A lot of like weird guitar noodling. Mm-hmm. That song Haze under a minute, and that's fun. But the shock value at this point is to be expected. So when he says things like the problem with women is they don't stop, or they talk too much, or talks about like strangling women and calling them sluts and stuff, like it's a little flat. It's just But this is like the mid '80s, and like that's still pretty wild. Whatever. It's just not better than the first record. Fuck off. I don't care. Move on.
My number 3 is Have Another Beer with Fear from '95, third record. It keeps with the punk aesthetic. It just kind of loses a lot of the blues stuff that was thrown on the first 2 records, which I actually like. It was fun just kind of hear him kind of fucking around and noodling on guitar. But otherwise, it's a good record. I would definitely go listen to this again. I enjoyed Have Another Beer with Fear. So, what do you got for number 2?
For Right in Order.
This
was cool.
I'm surprised you liked it so much.
This is full blown bar dad rock.
Yes.
Like this is old guys playing at the bar at TJ's and you're having a beer. But the difference is if we were sitting there and a band like threw these out, we'd be like, holy shit, these are fucking good. Because the song Nice Boys Don't Play Rock and Roll, dude, that is a fucking banger of a song. That is amazing rock and roll in the kind of like context like Bullets and Octane, which is good fucking rock and roll.
Yeah.
This album is pretty goddamn good. I will come back to this one. I'm gonna listen to it again probably in the next week or two. Come back to it. But this album was pretty goddamn good.
Wow. Okay. There you go.
I liked it.
There you go.
I liked it.
All right. My number 2 is More Beer from 1985, second record. This is just it's the extension of the first record a little bit more polished. It took 2 days to record apparently. But it got a lot of shit reviews, and I don't get why it got a lot of shit reviews. It's still a really solid record, but I get it. But this is 1985, so hardcore and punk in general was kind of dying out at this point. It lost its shock value too, so I get it. But either way, More Beer, solid record. So obviously our number 1 is the record from 1981. So
it's the record.
So let's get into this. Let's get into Fear. Let's get into our origin story with the band. So, and then we'll do origin story. Then we'll get into first impressions, get into some of the bangers, talk about extracurriculars, stuff like that. Because why the hell?
Probably mostly extracurriculars, but we'll see what
possible. Okay, so yeah, what's your origin story with Fear?
I don't really have like any origin story. You've talked about this band for a long time.
Yeah,
I've never listened to them. I took a college class, the history of rock and roll, and we watched a lot of movies in that class. And I shouldn't say that.
Class too.
We didn't watch a lot of movies in that class. We watched a lot of movies for extra credit at home. So like we were able to watch movies together. So what we do is we would just like rent out one of the rooms and then like, hey, Tuesday night we're gonna watch this movie. We can all just watch it together and then talk about it like at that place and then also in class. And it was just a history of rock and roll class, but our teacher was kind of a punker. And he liked a lot of the punk bands from this era. So that's like when I guess first, I don't want to say got into Fear, but like really saw Fear. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I like that you're an asshole. Like you're like the Mark Atkins of the 80s, and that's cool. But I never listened to him. I honestly never listened to like this whole album until Punk Season.
Really? No shit.
Yeah, that was the first time.
So essentially just this week, right?
Well, I knew we were kind of percolating on doing Fear, and then we got it into the record store, and so I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm gonna throw this on. I was like, oh, this is fucking good.
Yeah.
And that reminded me. I thought in my mind, I was like, oh, that's why. Okay, I get it. You're an antagonistic asshole. I like it. Fuck yeah. And it's not just like we'll get in the lyrics too, but it's all deliberately antagonistic, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I really have no origin story. Those are my first impressions also.
All right. My origin story. the first time I heard them was probably like 8th grade, freshman year of high school. So like 2000, 2001. First time I heard them because, I was very into the punk scene. I was hanging out with some of the punker kids at school. Like, the fucking crust punks, gutter punk kids, whatever, those fucking idiots. And yeah, they're wearing the fear patches. So I kind of got into fear that way, or I heard them for the first time there. But then after I heard them, they were like, oh yeah, this guy Lee Ving, he's an actor too. And then I remember looking up at home and seeing that he was in Clue. And I'm like, no shit, that's the same guy. Cause I love the movie Clue. I know you hate it. You pretend to hate it. You pretend to hate it, even though it's a fucking amazing movie. It's so.
I fell asleep
good.
last time I tried to watch it.
I actually watched it this week too, but I love Clue. I fucking have it on Blu-ray. I love that movie. But I've loved it since I think I watched the movie for the first time in like 6th grade, and finding out that it's the singer from Fear was just so cool to me. It was so cool. He played this like asshole fucking character in Clue, and he's just kind of an asshole in real life, or not in real life, but in the band. But yeah, I've never, outside of the first record, I've never listened to any of their other stuff until their new record came out last year in 2023, because I'm just such a big Jeff Kresge fan, and that's why I listened to it. And even then, I listened to it last year and I thought it was fine. And when I listened to it again this week, it's good. But I mean, you just got to stick with the first record. That's all you need. You really just need the first Fear record. It's just it's just really, first impressions, it's just a really fucking good hardcore record. I would put it up there with one of the best hardcore records of this era, throwing it up against Damage from Black Flag, throwing it up against Group Sex, which is certainly better than Group Sex. Up against Bad Brains, it's top 5, if not top 3 hardcore records from the 70s, 80s, late 70s, early 80s. So yeah, this record's fucking amazing. It's so good. I would love to have an OG of it. I don't even know how much if they go for a lot, but
they're not that much, because I'm going to take it home. So spoilers, all the people out there when I post on Instagram. We have a second press, and the second press, this is super fucking clean. And we were gonna ask 60 for it for a second press. So the OG is only like $150 tops.
It's not terrible. It's not like a Descendants or a Misfits or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the record. This is that's my first impression too. It's a fantastic, fantastic hardcore record. So I pretty much every song on here is a banger, but I'm fine just talking about like the first four bangers on mine, or first 5 bangers on mine.
Yeah,
because I think like after like there's maybe like 5 songs on here that are pretty different from everything else, and then everything is just kind of like your typical hardcore.
Yeah.
So, what's kind of your number one, if you have one?
I think I do have a number one. Do you hear him?
Dogs are barking.
Somebody. Boom. Dogs are barking.
Dum, dum.
Somebody's home. I think like the 4 songs, maybe that would be like different than everything else. Do you want me to keep going while the dogs are barking? Is that gonna bother you?
No, it doesn't bother me at all.
Man, when I crinkle papers and dogs are barking. Well, it's called real life, dude.
That is called real life, dude. Well, that dude.
But anyway, I think the 4 songs, right, would be like I Love Living in the City. We gotta get out of this place because it's a cover, and then Beef Bologna, and then probably New York's All Right if you like saxophones.
Yeah.
Like in some capacity, like those, at least 3 out of those 4 have to be in your top 4.
Yeah, they are. Those are my top 5. Yeah. So it's Let's Have a War, New York's All Right, Beef Bologna, I Love Living in the City, and then Camarillo.
Camarillo.
That's another good one.
Okay. Too. So yeah, I guess let's okay. My biggest banger is I Love Living in the City.
Let's get into that. This is 4. Let's do it.
This is just like, this is straight antagonistic.
Yeah,
right.
It really is.
And he's from Philly, but he fucking hates Philly anyway. But he hates like city life, and he hates LA too. He hates LA just as much as he hates every other big city. And LA's funny because like LA is like this land of I don't know, opportunity, where a lot of bands are formed in LA. But the LA scene, man, like nobody really likes the LA scene ever. Like no one's ever liked the LA scene. Yeah. And everyone, a lot of bands always say how pretentious it is and how a bunch of fuckers are out there. But my God, it breeds a lot of artists, not just like music wise, but a lot of artists they come from LA, but like nobody really likes LA.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't know.
I Love Living in the City. I mean, it starts out with like it's just the isolated vocals, and he's so like gritty, like I love living in the city, and then it just drops into that really fast beat, that dutton 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 dut, and it keeps up through the whole fucking song. I fucking love it. I love it, and the chorus is so goddamn catchy.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like he knows how to be fucking annoying. His voice is so annoying. Like he's like, bro, just clear your throat. Like, you know what I mean? Clear your throat. That's what he sounds like, and it's so fucking obnoxious. But then the music like kicks up, and he doesn't ever stop doing that kind of like vocal delivery thing.
Yeah.
But here, you already hear like the fucking noodly ass guitars.
He's a sick guitar player, whether it's him or what is it, Durf?
I think it's the other dude. Just like based off of the
Philo. Philo is the guitarist.
Philo.
Durf is the bass player. Yeah. But yeah,
just based off the decline and how busy was he leaving how busy leaving is with the crowd. I think it's the other dude guitar.
It could be.
Plus in the decline his strap broke. Remember his strap broke and he had to like fucking hold it up.
Yeah. But I mean, but when it comes to the recording of the record, I don't know who played what on the recording, because I mean, in the end, Lee has most of the songwriting credits on this record and then every subsequent record from them too. But either way, I mean, there's a lot of cool guitar parts, and then also kind of like reading more about Lee, which I had no idea about. But the guy is like an actual musician. Like he grew up, he was taught by like jazz guitar players. Like he knows all these different styles of playing. He loves blues music. And the only reason why he started Fear was because he saw that punk was like going to be the next big thing. And he's like, I could fucking do this shit. And I want to piss everybody off. So he fucking did it.
Wild.
He literally only created Fear just to make people mad. And I love him for it. I love it. And he put out really good music too. That's the thing. He put out great music and he did it just to piss people off. Love it. Fucking love it.
And it's fun to read that he was trained by like classically trained musicians, but you always hear, you know, like people are trained by like Joe Satriani, or Joe Satriani is trained by this guy, but like, these are like orchestral guys, like guys that like don't cut albums. They are just like called upon when like John Williams needs a guitar part in his fucking orchestral arrangement. Like that's how square these guys are.
And then I read like one of the guys who taught him was like specialized in like finger style, and which is like, dude, this is like the opposite of finger style guitar playing. And I love that. Like he started from a young age. Like I think he started playing harmonica, I think at like 6, and then he started playing guitar at 10. And then he was just, at that point he was just taught from like these fucking gnarly jazz musicians. So that's cool. I think that's really cool. He comes from a very different background, and he really only did this just to piss people off because he saw that's what it was.
It's a very like interesting thing to think about, that punk is very much the opposite of all of that.
Yeah.
And for him to come in, and I think that's why he knew he had to be so antagonistic, that Fear had to be so aggressive. Otherwise they would never be taken seriously. And like, because they are so aggressive, they got taken seriously. And he knew that this was a calculated move. But what's even more fun, interesting, is that this is a calculated move to not even make a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not doing this for the fame. This is a calculated move just to people at poor, like to barely scrape by. Like what?
What's cool too is like the music on this record, he doesn't just scream. Like he does a lot of different things. He has a lot of different styles that he drops into. Like he does this like Jello Biafra kind of vocal stylings at points, and then he does like, he's making fun of like Richard Nixon in one song, which I'll get into, and then just there's parts where he kind of croons, where he does this like bluesy thing, and then he just straight hardcore and just yells and wails, and like he does a little bit of everything. Like it's really cool.
There's a lot going on.
He's not your typical punker. And he said because I think I read somewhere too, like he said, I like the Ramones record, I like the Sex Pistols record, but he said something like, I know I could do it better, or he said, I knew that like this is what was coming up. He said something along the lines like, yeah, if they could do it, I could do it, pretty much. That's what he said.
Yeah. And that's the punkers hated, like they hated the emerging hair metal scene.
Yeah.
But the dude, like, he sings like he's in a hair metal band a lot.
Yeah, more
that's
so
just
than
the way
think.
he sings. Yeah. He tries. I mean, he tries. He's not like good at it, although none of them are really good at it. But he does try to sound a lot like hair metal. And I think their third record Or even even more beer. There's a lot of parts in there that are very hair metally.
More melodic, certainly. Yeah, more melodic.
LA hair metally.
Well, also like what I didn't understand, it actually really annoys me because the whole the punk scene in general is really stupid. We grew up in it, and like it's just fucking dumb, and people are idiots, and they think shit.
It's both the best and the worst thing.
It is. It really, and it's so gatekeepy. But a lot of people back in the day, they were like, "Oh no, this Fear record sucks. It's too polished." They recorded at I think they recorded at Sound City or somewhere, at least where Fleetwood Mac had produced or made a record, and they're like, "You guys are sellouts already, this and that," and it's like when you listen to it, yeah, it's a little bit more polished than like your Germs record or fucking early Misfits, but it's still a pretty gritty sounding record. Like fuck all these gatekeepy fucking punkers, like fuck them, man.
It just costs more money, and it it has nothing to do with whether or not you're about to pay some producer to come in and produce your record versus like doing it yourself and just paying more money to go to a nicer studio.
Yeah. And not only that,
type of thing.
They didn't make this record until 1981. He formed the band in 1978. So it's not like they just came out of nowhere and they fucking did this. No, they hustled. They played a shit ton of shows all over the US, mostly West Coast and East Coast. But I mean, they did some stuff in the middle of America too. But it's like they cut their teeth. They toured. They did everything, the punk way. And then they got shit on when they put out this record. But then a lot of people loved it too. So it's like, the punk scene is the worst. Like, especially back then, it was so fucking dumb. They're all idiots.
It was bad.
They're all idiots.
And again, after rewatching, but really watching it now, watching that Western or the decline of Western civilization, man, it's just like that type of punker never really went away. It just kind of like morphed and changed. At one point, there was some girl in a cast. And there's a big swastika on the side of her cast.
Yeah.
Just a big fat, like red outlines, white circle, black swastika. And it's like, damn, dude. Like, you guys really never went away. You just got better at hiding it.
Yeah, exactly. Or like,
remember we saw No Effects at the House of Blues, and like in the middle of the pit at some point in the show, like there was just a bunch of like white supremacists and all
that's
fucking
right.
doing the Sieg Heil thing.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
Fat Mike's like, let's fuck these guys up, fuck them up. And of course, like all these fucking skinheads, always the buffest dudes known to man, and they're all huge. Like, God damn!
I thought you were gonna bring up when we went to what was it, Family Values tour, like 2006. I think it was the 2006 one. I think in San Bernardino. And
that's a no man's land.
It's fucking San Bernardino. If you're not aware, it's a very shitty city. It's one of the worst.
Old. It's the biggest county in the United States.
Yeah, and the city itself is one of the worst cities in California.
Garbage.
But there's a huge venue out there, and that's where a lot of festivals used to be. But if you didn't have a lot of money like we were when we were like 17, 18, we had to buy the lawn tickets. They were $10, and so we get like 15 of us to go to the concert, to go to the festival. But that's where all the crazies are too. Lighting fires up in the field because we got lawn seats. And there was that one guy who tore off his shirt. He had the swastika across his whole back.
Straight up.
His whole fucking back. But then he got his ass knocked out by some guy too. Remember that?
Yeah.
Just went up, just sucker punched him essentially.
Thought he died.
Knocked him out cold. Straight up knocked him out cold.
He looked like he died.
Yeah. That was...
But, fuck it, whatever. But like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
But like, that's what I'm saying. Like, the punk community is still that. Maybe not today because the community itself is kind of dwindling. It's just older guys that don't give a fuck anymore. But like the punk community has always been gatekeepy and shitty.
Yeah.
Just because that's inherently what punk should be. It's kind of like, you're just an asshole. And like, why are you an asshole? I don't know. Because I fucking don't like you. Why don't you like me? I don't know. Because you're richer than me. Because you're older than me. And unfortunately in the punk community, it's because you're not a white person.
Yeah,
that's
true.
You see that fucking constantly in these late 70s, early 80s shows.
No, it's totally true. But I mean, there are obviously like the offshoots of that, the bands who had members who weren't white, like Dead Kennedys, or you get Bad Brains, who they're all black guys.
Yeah, only one, right?
Or even like
that's why it's so insane.
Or even like Black Flag. Ron Reyes was a Puerto Rican dude. Black Flag.
He's not on any actual official albums, or dude.
Well, he's on an EP and some other songs.
Booted him real quick, though, didn't they?
Yeah, that's true. They did.
Also, after watching that Decline video, I was like, dude, he's a fucking good frontman. I like him.
Yeah, he was Ron Reyes. I mean, he's not.
He was wily. He was cool.
I think Reyes. I mean, not Reyes. Fucking Henry Rollins. Hands down, he's the best Black Flag singer. But Ron Reyes is a close second, and Ron Reyes blows especially blows Keith Morris out of the water. Because me, I've never understood Keith Morris. I like the first Circle Jerks record, but I mean, honestly, Keith Morris.
It's just good stereotypical punk music. It's fun. It's cool.
Dez. Who cares about Dez? Who cares about Dez? I mean, honestly, who cares? But yeah, Ron Reyes is like, he's super fucking cool. And then even like when we did Black Flag a few years ago, the last Black Flag record from 2012, they had Ron Reyes come back into the band and record the record, and that's a fucking great record. Like a lot of people talk shit on it, but that's a great hardcore record.
The one Mike Vallely?
No, it was after. Sure. No, it was before Mike. Well, Mike was their manager at the time.
Sure,
but he wasn't in the band yet. But anyway, yeah. Decline. I also watched the Decline of Western Civilization last night. I've watched it a couple times before, but yeah, I watched it last night too. And man, the punker kids, not just back then, but like looking back when we were growing up, they were still so stupid. Like we were all so like kids are. I mean,
I think the punkers just kind of morphed. Like, I mean, we're gonna get hyper specific toward our personal lives.
Yeah.
So fuck off, whatever. But like punker kids, it wasn't necessarily like you had to listen to punk. It was more like an ethos, a mindset. Because like Wes and Dane, like they were punkers, and like Wes didn't give a fuck about anything. I remember ditching school with Wes and like, what are we gonna do? I don't know. Let's go behind Stater Brothers and smoke cigarettes. I was like, bro, this is fucking boring, dude. I'm gonna go back to school. But like that kind of like fuck off attitude. It's not necessarily burnout because he's still like past high school and but like that's kind of still punk because he did like some punk music and he was in a band. So,
but he didn't have the mohawks, the patches, the leather jacket.
Right.
He wasn't. He was a very kind of like normal.
Didn't want to fight nobody.
Yeah, he was such a sweet guy. Wes he's such a sweet dude, and so is Dane. Like both of those guys, really really sweet guys. But yeah, I mean they just didn't give a fuck about anything.
And that's
cool, man.
That's punker, dude. That's punker.
But the thing with like guys like Wes and Dane, they didn't judge people. But when you go and like talk to like the gutter punks, crust punk guys, like they're fucking just straight up fucking assholes. Like they make fun of everybody. They're like, I'm so much better than you. It's just like your mentality is no different than like a jock or some bullshit like that. You know what I mean? It's just you're just gatekeeping something different, and you're just bullying kids in a different way. That's essentially what it is. It's so fucking dumb.
When I worked at that Mexican bar out here, there was this dishwasher who was probably like 19, but just like a straight punker, dude. Just he stunk. His fucking hair was just, they weren't dreads, but it was just nap. It was just one big nap. And I remember talking about music one time because he's like, "Oh, I play in a band, dude. Check it out." I was like, "Yeah, what's your band name? I'll put it on the speakers out here." He's, "Oh, it's this." And he said this the most like, almost like I don't even know. It's fucking garbage. And I put it on. I was like, "Oh, what do you play?" He's like, "I'll play bass." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Do you like this?" He's like, "Yeah, this is fucking amazing." I'm like, "Oh, okay." This is kind of like, and I happened to say this is kind of like Black Flaggy, right? But not, it's a little bit more aggressive. He's like, "Black Flag, I don't listen to that shit." Have you ever heard? And then he said, "Have you ever heard?" And he listed off like 10 names in a row. Like, you ever heard like Cheese Original? Night Radio, you've heard this? I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're fucking saying to me right now. But like that's, you know what I mean? That's a punker right there. It is. That's your punker.
Yeah, it's somebody like trying to think they're better than somebody else by saying, "Oh, I listen to only obscure shit. I only do this."
Because you listen to shit music, my guy. Come on.
But bro. I mean, we've all kind of had those kind of like periods in those eras. But when we were young, you know what I mean? Like when we were teenagers. So it's like, it's kind of like this rite of passage, like you want to be different from everybody else. So you just say dumb shit like that. Fucking dumb. Punk sucks.
Good times.
Punk sucks.
Punk does suck. It's pretty stupid. It's pretty fucking dumb. Yeah. And especially after watching like the Decline, and then just watching like every band on there except for like X.
Yeah, they were like the only normal band on there. Yeah, the only ones that like had something to say, the ones that like were kind of mature. But yeah, you watch, the Black Flag guys. I mean, Greg Ginn is just an idiot in general. And I was just kind of reading more about Greg Ginn yesterday while I was watching, and I'm just like, dude, you are literally the reason why you can keep nobody in this band, because you're such a piece of shit. Like, you're such an asshole. But
butthole.
He is. And then, obviously the Germ stuff, and we've had a lot of negative things to say about the Germs because they're fucking terrible. And Darby Crash was a fucking moron. Like, he was truly a fucking moron. Like when you listen to him talk, it's like, I don't know, are you really fucked up on drugs, or are you just kind of like, are you just that dumb?
I mean, that band just
Like,
sucked.
Yeah, the band was
Pat
so bad.
sucked in that band too. Their bass player didn't know how to fucking play the bass.
Well, none of them knew how to play. But
I think Pat like kind of knew how to play before like the germ stuffs. Like he
possibly, but
maybe.
But even now, it's like with the Foo Fighters now, you're going from the Germs to Nirvana to Foo Fighters, which is fucking, when you think about it, that's insane. This guy who can barely play the guitar has played in three iconic bands. Regardless of what you think of any of those three bands, all three of them are really iconic, and he's played for all three of them. But it's just like, I've seen stuff with Pat Smear like in later years in the Foo Fighters, and he still doesn't really know what he's doing. Like, you watch him play, and he's the third guitarist in the band. He's just playing like normal chords, power chords. He's not doing anything.
God,
he's not churching anything up. Because I mean, Chris Shiflett's a great guitar player. Dave
Grohl's a really, really good.
Yeah, and Dave Grohl's a really solid guitar player too. And you get Pat Smear. It's like
your third guitarist in a band that really only needs one.
Yes, exactly.
That's wild.
Exactly.
That's wild.
I've seen shit
but
too.
Yeah, really, even Black Flag, like prior to Henry Rollins, even Damage is kind of like bleeding that line. Like, dude, that punk music is just, it's a dime a dozen. The only band, like when we're talking like the Decline movie, was X. X was the only band that brought something else to the table that wasn't just punk. And they brought a lot of like their guitarist, he was really fucking cool. And he loved like kind of like surf 70s rock, flashy shit. And it was cool.
With a lot of surf rock too. Like a lot of that early X stuff, it's very surf inspired too. Or rockabilly too. It was like, X is cool. I mean, I want to get more. I like the first X record a lot, but I feel like I need to listen to it more. Like I've never just been a huge X fan, but I've always respected them and really enjoyed what I've heard, but I've never been obsessed with them.
I mean, I only like their first record. I've only listened to maybe like their first four, but like their first record's fucking the bee's knees. It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's about all I got.
Which is crazy. We've never done X on the podcast. We've been doing this for 8 years. Never done X. It was like when we were watching, I guess because it's kind of the same time when we were watching The Decline, I was like, damn, we should have done X. But I was like, nah, man, like Fear is just, man, this guy was an asshole. This guy was like literally Mark Adkins of this era. Just so fucking obnoxious. So just like, man, dude, you just know how to get under everybody's skin without being like overly disrespectful, right? Just besides like the whole cocksucker thing, calling everybody a cocksucker and making fun of that thing, but like never drop like racial slurs, never called anybody out in particular. He threw around a lot of like homophobic stuff, but I mean, this is also 1981. Yeah, this is not 2024, so it's like
right. You can't look through the lens of 2024 back then. It's not
no excuse.
Entirely fair.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not like they were the first ones to do it. They just did it in a very abrasive way. And
they were aggressive about it.
They were very aggressive about it. And just watching them in that documentary, and then I was watching other live videos of them, and dude, it's just like, because Mark Adkins from Guttermouth, he's very antagonistic, but he never wants to fight anybody. It's always like, I'm gonna like be goofy and make fun of you, but because I'm such kind of like a goofy guy myself, it's not like, it doesn't come off as mean spirited. But when Lee does it, it's just like straight up like, fuck you, you fucking suck, you're a piece of shit, you're so fucking ugly, you're fucking, this or that. Like, it's just straight up, like just flipping people off. Or like in The Decline, like there's people jumping up on stage and he's like just fucking kicking them in the face.
Yeah.
He just straight up, he kicked some, I don't know if it was a girl or a guy, but it
was a girl.
He just kicked them in the face. But then
they were going back at it, like back and forth for a minute though. They were going back at it. She jumped on the stage. And first he grabbed her and then pushed her off and she got back on, and then he did it again and then she got back on and then he tried to kick her. And that's when all hell broke loose.
Yeah. Like the security came out, which is just like the roadies and shit come out and try to like.
Yeah. Poor security for fucking, like, how much do you get paid being security for Fear, right? Like,
it's probably not even security. It's probably just like the roadies from the band. The roadies from the band just trying not to start a fucking riot.
Fuck that.
But yeah, no, Fear was, man, they were crazy, man. But it was intentional. Like that's the thing too. It was only to me, at least everything that I've read and seen, it was Lee just trying to he wasn't actually that person. It was all a stage persona. And I read a lot of stuff too, like people who have met him over the decades have talked about how nice of a guy he is and like how much of a family man he is. Like he has a wife, he's been married forever, he has kids, like he's very much a family guy and just a very, very nice down to earth guy. But this whole persona it was all fake. None of it was real, which actually to me that makes it way cooler because he did this all himself. And this wasn't like a record label plant or a manager plant because they were doing this for years before they even got signed and put out the record. So I don't know. It's cool, man.
It's cool. It's a little kind of like, on the one hand, it's a little disingenuous, right? That's not what punk is, dude. But on the other hand, it's kind of like, isn't that exactly what punk is? You know, I'll do whatever the fuck I want to do, and like your thing is all stupid, and everyone in the punk community is dumb. And here, look at me, I can just fucking pretend to be a punker, and you guys accept me.
Yeah, and then put really good music behind it, so people can't criticize him for his music because he puts out fucking really great hardcore music. So that's another cool thing too. It's like you can't. There's no real way you can criticize Lee or the band Fear. Also, the name Fear, like what a cool band name. That is so cool. Such a cool fucking punk name. But it's rad, man. I
calculated.
I
think it's super rad. Good.
Super rad. So all right, so let's get into a couple more songs, then we'll get more into I guess the band again. I don't know. So what's another song you want to talk about?
It's been a weird. Sometimes like when we do things, I'm gonna do it right now. Sometimes when we do a band or like a week, I get into a certain like a vibe.
Okay.
And this one was really about like again like LAPD in like the 70s and 80s and Daryl Gates, our boy Daryl Gates, one of the fucking biggest knuckleheads of all time.
Well, explain who Daryl Gates is. Who doesn't know? You know who aren't hyper local. Daryl, or chief of the LAPD for probably 20 years or so, leading up to like the Rodney King riots. After that happened, he was done. He was done, and he was just notorious. He created Dare. He supposedly created SWAT teams. He said a lot of fucked up shit about like minorities. And I think at one point he even said like black people don't think. Or like if you hit black people in some capacity, that it won't affect their brain because their brains aren't like ours. Like he was a fucking psychopath. He was a weirdo, dude. But like this is why like punkers became like a thing in late 70s into the 80s, because you have this person like leading one of the coolest like cities in America, right? Like New York and LA. It was constantly like a back and forth. Like where do you want to live? New York, LA. And like this is your representative for the police, just out there beating people's asses. And like friend of the pod, we have him, and his dad worked for LAPD during this time. Yeah, he did.
I don't know if you ever talked to him, but he talks about stories, and he's like, "Yeah, he beat the shit out of fucking anybody."
Yeah, no, I've heard the stories. Yeah, I mean,
that's wild.
It was quite a different time. Quite a different time, man.
And like I've asked him numerous questions and talked to him, and I was like, "You just no repercussions?" Like, no, fuck no. What would they say? Who would they tell? Like, no.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, dude. Okay.
Can't tell the police.
Anyway, I watched a lot of cop movies this week too, and it ended last night after Decline with End of Watch. Love that movie.
Okay, I've only seen it once.
Check it out.
Only seen it once. It came out.
Anyway, back to Fear. Back to the Fears.
Back to Fear.
Back to Fears. What do we
So another song. Yeah.
Yeah, we could do.
Let's have a war. The opening song. Dude, the song is frantic. It's pissed off. And it's a very kind of like anti-war song, but done in a very sarcastic way. And when I mentioned the Richard Nixon thing earlier, it was in reference to this song, because during the verses, the way he's singing it is like his impersonation of Richard Nixon, who obviously, you know, the Vietnam War and all that kind of shit. So it's like the jowls moving, and you know the very kind of over the top Richard Nixon thing, which I thought was funny. It was a little bit clever.
Like that thing.
Yeah. And that's how the verses are in the song. And then he just kind of
like the way he yells. Like,
he does. He does. It's kind of out of tune. It's bad, but it's good. It's like it's a good bad. And this is
very,
like Dead Kennedys in spirit. Very Dead Kennedys in spirit. It's a great song.
This is very pessimistic in the way like to approach war. It's an aggressive approach to like population control. Yeah, let's just have a war. And like if you're just like, I don't know, like drunk talking to your friends, to your pals, to your mates, to your chums at the bar, you say, "Yeah, let's have a war. Fuck it, we'll all just go to war." And we're already fucking kind of there anyway. Suburbia has it, and we'll just kill everybody. Does that sound like a good idea? Right? It's very like very dickheadish.
It is,
and the way he sings it too, like it's very sarcastic. Like, hey, yeah. That's what. Who says that? That's fucking Mark McGrath from Sugar Ray. He says that.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I wonder if that's a reference to this song.
I don't know. That'd be fucking.
I wouldn't be surprised.
If Mark McGrath could be cooler, that would make him cooler because he's already cool.
But also like Mark McGrath is such like a music historian. Like
yeah,
he
he's
loves
like an encyclopedia.
Yeah, and I would not be surprised at all if that's like an homage to this song. And
that would be cool.
I would not be surprised at all because Mark McGrath.
We do love our Sugar Rays, and we do love our Mark McGrath.
Mark McGrath, so underrated. Like not the greatest singer.
Self-aware of his shitty singing.
It's just like, God, when you read more about Mark McGrath and you hear him talk like in interviews and shit, the guy knows his shit. And he like the first 3 Sugar Ray records. Wait, am I saying that right? Yeah, they're fucking fantastic. They're fucking amazing. So, but I do like a lot of the lyrics on this record. I think they're thought provoking. They're very antagonistic. They're very sarcastic too, so it's like it has this Dead Kennedys feel to them, but just not as over the top as Jello does when he sings. But I like it a lot. I mean, like I said, this is an anti-war song talking about how war is just a money-making machine, and it's just like there's too many of us, let's go to war. There's too many of us, let's go to war. We have
go to war.
We have the collateral, not the collateral damage, but we have the disposable heroes now, and we can make a shit ton of money off of it. Let's go to war. Like that, I mean, it's thought provoking. It certainly is thought provoking, and I dig it. Man.
I mean, he does talk about how it's already started in the city, and this is like as we talked about during hip hop season, right? Like New York in the 70s was
gnarly.
Was no peach. No peach, and L.A. also in the 70s and 80s and 90s was no peach.
No, not at all.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why do people? Like LA is the fucking how does LA breed so much cool shit? But it's the fucking worst place on earth.
And I don't know how people say LA is so great. I think it's like this like weird Stockholm syndrome kind of thing. Like there's no way people think that LA is that great. We've spent a lot of time in LA. You and I have spent a lot of time there in whether it's downtown or more like the Hollywood, like going toward Hollywood. Like it's all shit. It's all shit.
Garbage.
It's all garbage. It's fucking terrible. You've
Everybody's
also
fucking
lived
miserable.
You've lived in bigger cities. You lived in Portland. I mean, it's like, and we've traveled to a lot of big cities as well. And dude, it's fucking
LA's the worst.
LA is garbage. I mean, you would probably say New York is probably worse than LA.
I would, if I had to pick one to live in, and like money was not like an option, and I could live exactly where I wanted to, be it like downtown LA or like
I'd probably
central Manhattan, New York. I would pick New York. I think people care more about the city in New York, whereas I think LA has like the allure. LA has like the allure of, remember like when Chippendale Rescue Rangers when Monterey Jack the pilot would get the whiff of cheese.
Yeah.
And like his brain would turn off and cheese, right?
His eyes would go like
spirals.
Yeah, they spirals. Yeah.
I think that's like people in LA, like they have like a whiff of fucking like, oh, I'm gonna be an actor. And like that's what LA is. Like it has that little allure to it. Whereas I think like New York, I mean it's an older city, so New York people are like old generation, like generational miserable. Where like LA is more like like they're miserable. They kind of just like choke it down and pretend they're not.
Yeah. They pretend like they actually love the city. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas New York, they all fucking hate the city and they're all miserable. But like they'll drink with you. I respect that because that's more real.
Yeah.
LA is just ugh.
Once again, like I've said it so many times, I feel so bad for people who come from other areas of the world, the United States or outside of the U.S., and they come to LA or they come to Hollywood, and I just feel bad. Like you spent thousands of dollars to come here, and this is what you get. Like you came here for this. Like there's no like Paris. Like you and I went to Paris. It's kind of a shit city. But there's a shit ton of history there too. Like just there's a lot to do there. Like when it comes to history, there's a lot to learn there. But with LA, no. Like there's outside of like the music scene and Hollywood, there's nothing in LA. And even then,
that's really all it is. It's the music scene in LA.
And even that, like it's not like you're going to LA and you're going to see fucking Van Halen. You know what I mean? Like you're going to a venue that Van Halen played at 40, 50 years ago.
And you see fucking Young the Giant play their shitty ass song, The Troubadour. Like fuck that.
Exactly.
And you pay $100 to see it too.
But you go to Paris, and I mean, yeah, you get the Eiffel Tower. You can go to the Louvre. You can go to the Arc de Triomphe. You can go to so many different the catacombs. You could do so many different things there. But in LA, you got the whiskey, but no fucking relevant band has played there for the last 30 years. So it's like,
and it's even though I hate Frisco, like I will give Frisco this. Because I've been there more times than I probably should have been there, but like they're Chinatown, they're like little Saigon, they're little Italy. It's fucking cool.
Yeah,
it's so much better than like what LA has to offer.
Yeah, I mean honestly, San Francisco, I'm not a fan of it either. And if it wasn't for the riffraff, like the city is cool. The city's really fucking cool.
First of all, you're the riffraff that lights off fucking fire alarms and shit.
Well, I didn't set the fire alarm off.
You're right. You weren't the one that pulled the fire alarm. You're just the one that sprayed the fire extinguisher in the hallway where someone else freaked out and then dropped the fire alarm.
Well, I didn't do that.
I feel like the statute of limitations is probably up at this point, right? That's got to be like 20 years now.
I didn't do anything like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
But anyway, but you know what I mean? Like if it wasn't for the riffraff in San Francisco, it could honestly be like one of the coolest.
With the rampant homelessness, the
crime,
high
drug,
the crime, the high rent prices, exorbitant housing crisis.
But when it comes to like if you let's just take like homelessness and crime and all that fucking terrible shit. If you take that out of LA is fine. It's still kind of a cool city. Hollywood's kind of a cool city, but you take that out of San Francisco and like, wow, this city's fucking amazing. It's so fucking cool. It's so rad. There's so much to do here. Like LA just like, no matter what type of shape it's in, it's kind of a shit city. Yeah. And same with Hollywood. Fucking overrated, man. Overrated.
I think like MS-13, one of the most like notorious gangs on earth, originated in LA in the 70s too. So I think that just shows you how amazing LA is.
People
Daryl Gates
and people
fucking idiot.
People just still pretend that LA is it's this fucking great city, but it really is not.
Brush my teeth just talking about it.
Damn, we got pretty super hyper local there, but it makes sense because you know this band started in LA. Yeah, Lee is from Philadelphia, but once a big kind of shit city too. Never been to Philadelphia, but from everything
I've never been to Philly either.
We had a layover there, you and I did, but we never actually got out of the airport to visit. When we went to Europe,
we doing in Philly?
We had a layover when we went to. We're like, can we make? We were even talking about, can we make it to the Liberty Bell? Would we have enough time?
That's all we wanted to see.
All we wanted to see, but it was only like a 2-hour layover.
We're such shills for our own, like fucking, historical, whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I'm too many beers deep to speak.
To speak. Talking's hard, dude. Pod talking's hard.
Talking's hard, dude.
All right, let's get into another song. Get into another song. What's another one you want to talk about?
But how about beef bologna?
Get into beef bologna. That's my 3B. What do you got on this one?
Because that's a fun one, and he just like to open the song up. He just acts like an asshole.
Yeah,
he just says a bunch of fucking things, and it's kind of different every time that he does it live. And all that little scat thing, like this is probably where Jonathan Davis got his scat from. Was this?
Well,
and he's kind of like, scatting
was around a long time before this song came out.
No, this is the first time scatting's ever been recorded. But they also get kind of like the cool guitar parts, the right,
great blues guitar
kind of like leads.
Yeah,
and that sounds goofy. It's cool. It's fun. It's stupid really cool. As fuck,
dude. What I love about this song too, like this intro is so stupid. It's so over the top. But Lee does this scream thing that sounds exactly like David Lee Roth. Like David Lee Roth scream, like during like Shout at the Devil. Not Shout at Wait.
Wow.
Yeah. Just like it's straight up just like this high pitched scream. and it's just so fucking dumb. And I think it's like him almost kind of making fun of, just like, I think this whole band is him making fun of other people, but doing it in a very subtle and a very sarcastic way, but then being aggressive when he needs to be aggressive.
I can imagine like the punkers really hating hair metal in general. That's all they fucking talk about, is how much like punkers hate hair metal.
Yeah.
But you never really hate, or you never really see or hear or read about punkers hating like the first couple Van Halen records.
That's true, yeah.
And like, you're not playing fucking like Sunset in LA in the early 80s without having seen Van Halen play, right? After dropping their album. Like, that's because that first record's pretty fucking, it's pretty aggressive too at times. I mean, David Lee Roth kind of like takes away the aggression, but that's just his thing. But like, that's a pretty fucking amazing record. And you don't hear a lot of punkers talk about how much they hate Van Halen. Because how can you hate Van Halen?
You can't. I mean, it's impossible to. I mean, no matter who you are, you can't hate Van Halen. Like, you
don't hate that first record for sure. Fuck no.
100%. No, you can't. It's perfect. It's beyond.
So I do think a lot of punkers probably, especially like Fear and leaving, took inspiration from Van Halen's first record, whether it be just like the showmanship and just kind of like the long, like those drawn out like bends.
Yeah.
Or just be like David Lee Roth, like, wow, like those things. I think you do take from that.
But also, like in Beef Bologna in the song, I mean, you have that kind of like making fun of blues, like over the top blues singers, like David Lee Roth. Like, he's trying to be a blues guy, but he's over the top because he's not the greatest singer, but he's good. And I feel like that's what Lee's doing here. But then you throw in like, there's a lot of lead guitar and solos on this entire song. And I feel like maybe that is kind of like an homage and kind of making fun of Van Halen too. Because that's essentially what, like, Van Halen is like this glorified, like this massively heavy blues band. That's what they are. They're just a blues band that plays really, really heavy, hot sounding guitars. That's all they are. That's really all.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is
very heavy, very hot.
I feel like that's kind of what possibly this song is. It's his homage and kind of just teasing, making fun of Van Halen. Because 1980, when this album comes out, the first Van Halen record came out, 78, I believe?
78 and then 79.
So it's like,
I think Women and Children were probably around this time.
Yeah, so it's like, Van Halen, after that first record, I mean, Lee Ving had seen Van Halen probably 100 times.
Of course. How could you not?
LA, So I think I think that's what this song is. And then also what I noticed this week through their entire career, but especially on this record too, the 1 2 3 4. He would go 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4
1 2 3 4,
and then
double 4 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. What he should have did.
But it was always 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. He always did it twice, and I feel like that's him kind of paying homage and making fun of the Ramones. Because that was a very Ramones thing that they did. That Tommy did.
That was Dee Dee.
Or Dee Dee. Sorry, it was a very Dee Dee.
He was doing it double better than you, right? I'm gonna do twice as good as you did it.
But also kind of like teasing and making fun of the Ramones, because he said many times, like, I love the first Ramones record, I love the first Sex Pistols record, so why wouldn't he make fun of it? You know what I mean? He's a very sarcastic singer and lyricist. And he has better,
I like the double 4 count too. I like it.
I know, and he does it so much. I forgot how much he does it. Yeah. 1 2 3 4
it's like half the songs.
And then
1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4.
The way he says it, then the band doesn't even come in at that same tempo. He says it way faster than when everybody drops in. So it's like, what the fuck? What's the point? I love it. I love this band.
You're just excited.
I am. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
It's so good. Beef Bologna. Great fucking song.
Banger of a song. For sure.
Also crazy to me, just kind of like looking on Spotify right now, none of these songs on this record have even broken 1 million streams. Like the highest one is 780,000 streams on Spotify. Everything else is like between 200,000 and 100,000, which is crazy. Like, this is such like it's such a pivotal, like such a great hardcore record. It's just wild that nothing is really broken. Nothing's broken 1 million on here. That's wild.
It's really not like, I wonder, like, just curiosity, like Bad Brains. I feel like Black Flag is probably one of the few like hardcore bands from this era that's really broken through into vast mainstream success. And that's 100% because of Henry Rollins.
Well, yeah.
What he's done outside of Black Flag. But I mean, I don't know. Because Bad Brains, like Band in the Sea, is 25 million streams.
That's crazy.
That's a lot.
I mean, Bad Brains are great, but I mean, Fear, honestly, Fear is kind of a better band.
Dude, Black Flag Rise Above
ways.
only has 35 million, so not only 10 million more than Black Flag or than Bad Brains.
But then, then look at this, mind you. Okay, so it might be what I'm thinking is maybe they put this record on much later on Spotify, so maybe it doesn't have as many hits.
That's weird.
That's why. But yeah, I was really surprised when I saw that there aren't as many hits as you think, like streaming hits. That's what I mean.
Yeah, because even like Gorilla Biscuits still have millions. X has millions.
Yeah, it must be because they put this record on later on Spotify. That must be the
has to be.
Yeah, makes no sense otherwise.
That's interesting.
It's something, dude. So
that's a no list, dude.
That's why I don't say it anymore. I really don't say it anymore. I don't think I've said it. I think I've said it maybe twice since.
I just like that you were so like self-conscious about it. Like you just actually removed it from your vernacular.
Is it impressive that I was actually able to remove it from?
It's hard if you say something over and over for years, decades, whatever it is. Like it's hard to make a conscious decision not to say it, especially when like on podcasting when we're drinking.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
You just say things. Like I know for a fact I just say things.
My fear of being made fun of, trumps any sort of,
TVs are dumb.
TVs are dumb. All right, so there's one song that I want to talk about, and that leads into another story about the band, and that's New York's All Right If You Like Saxophones. And I want to talk about this song because I also want to talk about the SNL incident.
Saturday talk about the SNL incident. Sure.
So let's get into the song a little bit, and then we'll get into that whole incident on live TV. So I assume this is like a top song for you, right?
Yeah, this song's so fucking good. This is a very much like even though he's saying saxophone, like you can insert anything else there, right? Yeah, New York's all right if you like. What kind of disrespectful thing do you want to say about New York? Insert right there. That's what this song is. It's a placeholder for whatever horrible thing you want to say about New Yorkers. I think that's awesome. That's cool. And then we have a saxophone play, and it sounds like shit, and it fucking kind of doesn't really mix, but it kind of does also mix a little bit.
I like it because the song is so fast. It's just a very good fast punk song, and also the way the saxophone doesn't just play in certain parts; it pretty much plays for the whole song. Like
dude, never shuts the fuck up.
When he's singing the verses, like it's like harmonizing with his vocals, and it'll drop into like a solo, and then it'll harmonize with his vocals again. Like honestly, this is actually kind of a well written song. And this kind of goes to show it's Lee's chops. I mean, he doesn't play the sax on it. I think Durf plays
the bass player
sax on this one.
Yeah.
But even still, like these guys, they aren't just chumps on their instruments. Like they know how to play their respective instruments, and they know how to play them well. And they know how to do it, in a sarcastic way. And this is a really well written song. And the way that Lee sings is very Jello sounding. It's very like sarcastic and goofy and a little bit over the top. And it makes sense for this kind of song and the lyrical content, talking about just talking shit on New York and talking shit on big cities in general, but really New York.
So good. It's really like it's there, even though like also the Bouncing Souls are tongue in cheek, but it's their like East Coast fuck you song. It's straight about New York, and it's just so disrespectful because it just shows. And New York is so garbage. Even I've only been there twice, but both times I was there for several days, and I was like, damn, all of these things I've seen there. If you like art and jazz, and like, man, there's so many people fucking selling their art in the street. And like, dude, this shit sucks. Like, get the fuck out of here with your dumbass art. I don't even know if like they were just trying to laugh. And the people playing music in the street. It's like, yeah, it's good, but it's not great. Like, get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Fuck you, you fuck the fuck you kids doing.
And because there's a part where he talks about getting robbed or getting mugged. And I remember one story that my aunt's husband told me. He was like growing up, and because he's from New York, and he was probably in his like early 40s. Like now, compared to our age, he's probably like 30 years older than us. Mm-hmm. So his early 40s, and he got mugged, and the mugger told him to take out his wallet. This is his story, and like who knows if his story is fucking even true or not. But it's a good story. Am I boring you? Is your face tired? Okay.
Acquisition. Sorry.
Don't itch.
Don't itch.
And he said that he pulled out his wallet. He gave his wallet to the guy. The guy opened it up, pulled out like $2, And the guy's like, what the fuck? And then my uncle, whose name was Dean, he's like, trust me, I'm more upset about it than you are. And the guy like gave him back the $2 and just fucking went on his way. I'm like, damn, that's such a New York fucking thing.
Is. And it's pretty fucking funny. If it's true, that's pretty fucking funny.
I believe him. I like to tell it. It's a fun little anecdote. And even though I can't stand that guy Ever's wife, but whatever. I think he's dead now too. I don't know, who cares. No, he's kind of a dickhead. So whatever.
Yeah, whatever. What are you gonna do?
Whatever.
So yeah, this kind of bleeds into the story, the SNL incident. So John Belushi, famously from SNL and Blues Brothers, he was a massive fan of punk music and a massive fan of Fear. At this point in time, he had already left the show and left SNL, and they were desperately trying to. Lorne Michaels was desperately trying to get him to come back to the show to do like a guest spot, and he's like, "I'll only do it if you let Fear play on the show." And he somehow, him and like another writer on the show, I forgot the writer's name, but they convinced, who was also another big punk fan and fan of the band. They were like, yeah, if they could play on the show, and if Lee can make a cameo in one of the skits. And they kind of reluctantly did it because they really wanted John Belushi to come back. And like there was even a point where they were like, you know what, we're not going to let them, like after like dress rehearsal, they're like,
this is not fucked good. Up dress rehearsal.
Yeah, it's like, this is not going to work. And then John's like, then I'm not
fucking, I'm not coming.
Yeah, this like if they're not going to be able to play it, I'm not going to do this. And they wanted
like, you fuck up dress rehearsal, dude.
I know, that's pretty wild.
Like, come on, it's pretty man.
Wild. And yeah, I mean the story goes, they were asked, it was told that they were supposed to bring like a bunch of punkers from like New York and like the local areas. So you got like Ian MacKaye from at the time Minor Threat, and then later Fugazi came up for the show at SNL at the studio. And
did I send you the video, or did you send me the video, or
no, you
did I only watch the video myself?
No, you sent me the video. It was like a 15-minute video, and like a bunch of other punkers, like but like guys who were eventually became popular and kind of famous, were at this particular show. They ended up supposedly breaking some like thousands of dollars worth of equipment, but then some people say it wasn't thousands of dollars. It was like an exaggeration, but who knows in the end. And then, there's also a part where Fear was playing and fucking Ian MacKaye said like, fuck New York, or like, I hate New York or something like that on live.
Yeah.
And then that's when they actually had to cut the feed because like everybody in the crowd were starting to say like, I hate New York, or New York sucks, or something like that. So they ended up cutting the feed early. Yeah. Just as I forgot what guy, I think it was like the tour manager for Fear. He came up with a giant, he found a pumpkin in the backstage and he brought it out on stage and threw it, but they cut the feed. They faded out the feed right when he was about to throw it. But yeah, it like broke over everything, and it was just a giant shit show. People were slam dancing. Dude, the whole story was really cool. I fucking love it.
It was wild. So yeah, I don't
fill in the blanks. Yeah.
That video that we watched. So I think they had called Ian and like, hey dude, we're doing our dress rehearsal. Like, can you just call some of your friends, and we want to fill it up. That way, like Lorne Michaels and everybody knows that we're like legit, and they know that we're like an actual band. And Ian's like, yeah, sure, I'll bring a couple of people. And like 50 people showed up. Yeah. Like, oh fuck, way more. This ain't good. And they already knew like this ain't good. And so like dress rehearsal was a shit show, and it was garbage, and they knocked a bunch of stuff over. So that was one thing.
A lot of the punkers that were there were from Washington, D.C. They weren't even New York punkers. There were some New York guys there, but it was mainly guys from D.C. So that was also a thing too. You bring a bunch of like punkers from a different city up. That's
a different type of punk too. Yeah. Like New York punkers that we're still kind of like crooning over the Ramones, and they're stupid at like DC punk
was hard.
Those fools are wild. That's hardcore shit.
I mean, even when you look at the two big ones, Bad Brains and Minor Threat, those guys are pretty fucking heavy. They were pretty fucking hard compared to New York punk at the time. So, but yeah, sorry.
Yeah, continue. So like it's like Ian MacKaye throws a bunch of throws out a bunch of invites. A ton of people show up that probably should not have showed up, and dress rehearsal was a shit show. So they're like, no, we're done. John Blues, well, fuck you, then I'm not coming. And of course, Lorne Michaels, being a little bitch that he is, it's like, okay, well, I'll do whatever you want, John Belushi. It's two of them. Well, Waller, dude. And the show happens, and you're right. Like, it's cool because in that video that we watched, one of the guys, I don't think he had like really heard the excerpt in like the isolated vocal parts, because he's just like a road manager or some shit like that. but like you could tell when he was listening, he's like, oh damn, I said that. That was me. Why did I say that? So you kind of see like the 30 years later, he's like, yeah, probably shouldn't have said that. And like all hell breaks loose and people are jumping on the stage and fucking leaving is kicking people in the face. And like, it's just absolutely fucking wild.
Chaos,
stuff's knocking over. They only get through like 3.5 songs, barely. And then like, yeah, somebody walks out with a big pumpkin and you can see in the video, his face is just like,
seriously,
and he lifts it up.
Because this is also a Halloween show. This is like the Halloween show. So I fucking love it.
As he's lifting it up, it just fades to black. So you never get to actually see him like drop it. Yeah. But you're right, because at some point someone yells like, fuck New York, or New York's fucking gay, or like fucking
yelled something,
whatever it is. And that's Ian McKay.
It was Ian.
He's like, he says that shit.
Well, he said it first. He said it first. That was the first one you hear. But then after that, the other guy started doing it after Ian did. And then that's when they decided to cut the feed, was because everybody started doing that in the little pit area.
God, it's so funny.
And then they were banned. Of course, Fear was banned from SNL.
Yeah, forever.
They were allowed to play there ever again. And then I guess like from what I was reading too, after that performance, any other reproduction or any other like they never reran that episode of SNL or their performance. Like they would always rerun like old episodes, but anytime they reran that episode, they would never show the Fear performance.
God, SNL like, SNL should be the greatest thing that's ever happened to television, but it's also the bitchiest thing that's ever happened to television.
But also you have to think SNL was on, network TV. This wasn't cable. This was like they have to. But
pay the fucking fines and call it a day. Increase your ratings and pay the fines. You want to be cutting edge? You pay the price.
But that could also, like, I mean, at the time, especially late 70s, early 80s, that could, and also at that time, SNL was kind of on the downward spiral. Like they hadn't picked back up yet. They had lost a lot of cast solid cast members, so their ratings were already low.
Like, because they're tired of that shit. They're like, dude, I can make how much starring in my own movies versus like Peanuts being on SNL? Like, get the fuck out of here.
Do Ghostbusters and I can make $5 million.
I could be dickhead Chevy Chase and go make fucking shitty National Lampoon's movies over and over and over rather than be on this shit show.
Yeah, it's another thing too. Like those National Lampoon's movies, they're fun, but they're not that great. The movies aren't that great.
None of them are great.
Like Chevy Chase, I actually really like. I think Chevy Chase is very, very funny.
I love Chevy Chase too.
But those movies, like the first Vacation movie, it's fine. The first 4 Vacation movies, they're funny, but they're not like they could. Like Chevy Chase deserved better. I mean, he deserved better, like from a writing standpoint. I know he's a giant prick, and he still is. But he's a very, very funny guy. He has great timing. He's a great comedic actor, but he just is not written into great movies. And those Vacation movies are fine, but they're not great.
That's a franchise, and you're going to make a lot of money doing them because you're there. And like Beverly D'Angelo, she's fine too, but like Chevy Chase is like the National Lampoon's base there. Yes, yeah. But like even National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, like meh.
It's definitely one of like the lower tier like Christmas movies.
Really, it really is. It might not even be top 10.
But out of like the top 10 Christmas movies, that's like lower top 10.
If it's top 10.
Yeah. I think it's a little overrated. And like watching it too, it's very like bit heavy. So it's like, it's not a very cohesive movie. It's more of like, how many bits can we fit into an hour? It's very much that.
It's an SNL skit.
But also
expanded into a movie.
So is Wayne's World. Wayne's World's the same exact way. It's not a very good cohesive movie, but it's just a bunch of different bits thrown into a single movie. I think Wayne's World is so overrated. It's fun.
Wayne's World's pretty good though.
It's good and it's fun, but it's certainly overrated. And it's very kind of like making fun of like the advertisements. Like it's very kind of self-aware. I like that. But in the end, it's not, I don't think it's a great cohesive movie. It's just a very good bit movie. Much like the Vacation movies.
But it's a very good bit movie where Vacation's not a good bit movie. I'll take Wayne's World over any of the Vacations any day of the week.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I would too. But the first Vacation's a great movie. Christmas Vacation is certainly overrated, but the first Vacation movie's good. European Vacation, Vegas Vacation was really good, but that was way later in the series.
Vegas Vacation was good because of fucking Dennis Quaid's brother, Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid, yeah. Are they actually brothers? Are they real brothers?
Funny. I don't know if he's brothers or not. These are the last names. They show the last name, so I assume they are.
Yeah.
dude. So like, did you know that the girl that directed what the movie we watched last night, The Decline of Western Civilization, she directed Wayne's World.
Yeah, what was it? With Penelope Spheris, right?
Yeah, I didn't fucking know that.
Same girl.
Like, what? How the hell? Okay, whatever.
But it makes sense.
I mean, Wayne's World is very music based. So
but also when you think about it too, John Belushi, Fear, Penelope Spheris, Wayne's World, like it's all very SNL related. It's all kind of in the same world, which is cool too.
One of my favorite music movies is Airheads. Just want to throw that out there. We can move on.
Yeah, Airheads. It's perfect. Airheads is a perfect.
I love Airheads so much.
It's perfect. It's truly perfect. The acting's great. The writing's great. The casting's great. I haven't watched it.
It's perfect shitty acting matched with like great writing to like bring out the shittiness in each of those actors.
I mean, Brendan Fraser is really good in it because he's a good actor. But the other guys, obviously Adam Sandler, goofy as fuck. Steve Buscemi, he's a good actor. He's good, but he's just so ugly that it's hard to get past it.
There's really nobody there in those top three that I think are great actors. Good, fine, right? Very. But also, very, I really like Christopher Walken.
I really like what's his name? Who was in Spinal Tap? He was in X-Files. He's in everything. What's his? I never remember his name. The blonde guy.
I don't remember his name.
But you know who I'm talking about. The main guy in Spinal Tap.
He plays the ponytail with the exec.
Or the radio station exec. Yeah.
The guy who's moving the radio station to Easy Listening.
Yeah.
I don't remember his name either though.
But
he's always a bad guy though.
Yeah. Or kind of like the sarcastic kind of asshole.
Yeah.
But he's funny too. Great actor.
Yeah.
Very funny.
Damn, can we getting back into soundtrack season after this? Let's go back into Fear.
Spinal Tap, Airheads,
Spinal Tap,
soundtrack.
That's already two.
Damn, we should get into SNL season. No, we should. No, how would that even make any sense?
I don't know. Maybe we could percolate on that one. That would not be a bad idea. We could.
I was gonna say we could do Adam Sandler and do Wedding Singer, but we already did Wedding Singer, so
it's true.
SNL season is dead. It's dead in the water. Back to Fear. Do we want to talk about any other songs? Do we kind of want to wrap it up? What do you think?
Back to the shack, back to the place I know.
I mean,
no, I'm good. I mean, there's cool lyrics and stuff, but they're like you said, but they're very antagonistic.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, same here. Like I would talk about Camarillo, but the only thing with this one, it's very thrashy. It's a very kind of thrashy song with Jello vocals. Jello sounding vocals, I should say. And it's also referring to like the Camarillo State Mental Hospital, which I guess was like very famous mental institution until 96. And then it got eventually it shut down and then it got turned into like a university, which is so weird to me too. It's very, very weird. But
it's interesting to think that it's I don't know, it's fun to think about like mental institutions, right? They don't really exist at all anymore. Like now there's an entire there's a plethora of places you can go to get help, to get things at an extremely high price here in America.
Yeah. But
like, damn, it's not that long ago where we literally just shacked up elderly people with like actual mental disabilities, and people would I don't know what the fuck to do with you, so we're gonna throw you in this long hallway with 300 other people.
Well, that was kind of, I mean, not to say that these mental institutions were good or great by any means, but that was the big issue.
Terrible.
That was, yeah, they were awful. But that was the big thing, was that like Reagan put forth a law to like start banning this kind of stuff, and then state government, the governors in various states were starting to close them down too, and that's what led to this one in Camarillo. But what a lot of like the repercussions to that was that all these people were being released from these state mental hospitals, but they had no place to go. Like they're
being released, like they're prisoners.
Yes,
they were being prisoners. We released,
but they were never
peace.
But there was no rehabilitation. It was like a lot of people who were not able to assimilate to normal society, to the public, and it caused a lot of issues in a lot of cities, a lot of areas. And not to say one way is better than the other, but it caused a lot of fucking issues.
People didn't fucking know. And like whatever drug is used to like kind of like treat kind of like schizophrenia and bipolar, whatever, wasn't like readily available to the masses in like the 60s until like the 70s or 80s or whatever it was. And so like, I mean, again, through the 2024 lens of dissecting practices from the 70s is entirely fair. And it's just like, damn, bro, like you guys fucked a lot of people up.
Yeah.
Probably way more than they probably should have been fucked up because like technology just wasn't there. Or maybe it was there and it was just being withheld. I don't know. I only know what I read online.
Or then there's also the thing where people were institutionalized for the wrong reasons and then were permanently damaged mentally and physically from whatever things that they were put through, like being lobotomized. Like that was a big thing too. You know, people who had no issues, had no mental issues, no physical issues, but they were lobotomized and then they become almost like a vegetable. They become like a 5-year-old kid. And like, what do you do with somebody who's been lobotomized? I mean, look at, what was it? Was it Rose Kennedy? One of the, John F. Kennedy's sister? She was famously lobotomized because she was a loose woman. She was a wild woman. So they had lobotomized her and then she was never the same after that. After she was like 22 years old. She was 22 years old, I think. And she lived to be like 80, but she was essentially like a child her whole life after being lobotomized.
Yeah, you take a part of your fucking brain out. No. Who knows what's going to happen?
It's fucking nuts, man. Like, but anyway.
Again, the 2024 lens on old technology and stuff. And I'm very into World War II season. I've watched the new season of Masters of Air. And I think like, damn, bro, like this stupid fucking dumb watch that I bought
your pink
has
watch.
More like processing power than like the mission to the fucking moon, right? Like this stupid Casio watch is a better like computer chip than what like drove men to the moon. And that's wild to me. Like people had like long Oppenheimer, even though I hated the movie, Christopher Nolan, fucking wink fest. Ugh. But like, damn, bro. These are smart ass dudes. The limits of human like ingenuity is there is no limit. The limit does not exist, Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah.
The limit does not exist, and that's fucking cool. But
so let's wrap it up.
With fear. Yeah, we can wrap it up.
Let's wrap it up because also your mic got, I don't know, something happened with your mic right now, so you sound really low and just like distorted.
Like Barry Manilow low?
Like Barry Manilow low. Remember this happened a couple weeks ago?
Barry White low. Not Barry Manilow. Barry Manilow is the white guy. Barry White is the black guy. Low
Barry,
voice.
okay, yeah. I get what you're saying. But yeah, I know it just sounds like total garbage right now. I could barely hear you.
Low. I don't know what you want me to do.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what.
Okay.
Remember this happened a couple weeks ago? Yeah, let's wrap it up. So let's give our final thoughts on this Fear record. Let's rate the record based off of our world famous 3-point rating system, where 3 is a perfect album, 2 is a good album you're going to continue to listen to, 1 is a bad album to give it a shot, and 0 is the worst thing you've ever heard. So what do you got, Jeff? Go.
If you're going to make generic punk music in the late 70s up until probably like the mid to late 80s, you better have a shtick. And like the shtick being Fear, right? Like Circle Jerks never had a shtick and they never got outside of just generic punk music. And that's why they're it's good. It's fine. Bad Brains had a shtick. Like Fear, dude, they had a shtick. And that's Leaving. He's so fucking antagonistic. He is so aggressive. And he always wears no shirt, and he's not like jacked to the point. He's like, bro, like you need to lay off the steroids, Henry Rollins. But he's fit enough to where you kind of you think about your actions, because there are consequences with somebody that fit. Yeah. Exactly. And so like if you're going to make generic punk music, then you have to have a shtick. Fear had 2 things. They did not make generic punk music, and this is kind of a little bit better. Yeah. It's not a lot better. It's a little bit better than your generic kind of hardcore punk music of the time. And they had a great shtick. And so I think Fear as a concept is fucking amazing. Unfortunately, it's not going to make you any money, because like who gives a fuck about punk music at this time? But it's a cool concept, and I respect you for doing it, and you're historic, and you'll be forever known. But like this record's a 2.75. No, I'll give it 2.75 because like it's fucking good. And it is really funny. And I do really enjoy it. I'll do 2.75.
2.75. That's
2.75.
That's higher than I thought you were going to give it. That's really higher.
2.75. It's fun. It's fun. I had fun.
All right. So my final thoughts. I think what this band did and Leaving did, they did nothing that revolutionized punk or revolutionized hardcore, but they did it so well, and they did it in such a sarcastic, tongue-in-cheek way. They were essentially making fun of the scene that they were playing in, and they did it in such a subtle way that I think it flew over most people's heads. Like they didn't know that they were essentially being made fun of by this band. And to the point, I mean, obviously we saw it in a lot of live videos. People would jump on stage and try to fight them. But also Lee Ving, like you said, he's not like this huge buff guy, but he's scrappy. He's a scrappy fucking motherfucking guy. Like I think he's like maybe 5'9", 5'10", but he's
fit enough though.
He's fit enough to where it's like, and he has this like constant angry face. Like he never looks like he's happy. Like he just has one of those faces where he always looks a little
He's ready. He's always ready
to go. He's scrappy. And you saw how scrappy he is. Like anytime somebody would come up on stage, he'd fucking kick him. He'd fucking punch him. He'd try to take him out himself. Like he didn't rely on anybody else to protect him. Like he would see somebody coming from a mile away and then go after them before they kind of realize like, oh fuck, probably shouldn't have even started this. Like he would kind of take this preemptive approach to people trying to attack him. Like Leaving is so fucking cool. Like I don't want to say cool, but goddamn, he's underrated. He's so underrated. And like we've mentioned, musically, they're way better than most all other punk hardcore bands from this era. And it's a shame because God, they deserve so much more credit than they're given. And I really only think it's because they did not take themselves seriously. And that's why they don't have the minor threat status. They don't have the Black Flag status, Misfit status, nothing like that. It's because they did not take themselves seriously and they were sarcastic, but still rough and tumble enough to gain some sort of respect, if that makes any sense.
But I also don't think they're as good as those three you just mentioned. I just don't think that, like, dude, Minor Threat is fucking good. Like,
Minor
Black
Threat's
Flag
good,
was fucking good.
But Black Flag
was fucking good.
But Black Flag is, like, what makes Black Flag cool is because it's Henry Rollins. And also because Greg Ginn didn't know what the fuck he was doing ever. He still doesn't know what he's doing. He's a shit guitar player, and he's a fucking mess. And there's kind of like
that. Everybody else was really good.
But that's kind of like the charm with Greg Ginn. Is like he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, but he doesn't care.
Like Rebel was really good. He was a fucking fantastic
drummer. Great drummer.
He was fucking cool.
But what I like so much about Fear is that it's just Lee being so self-aware and knowing how to fuck with the scene, but not letting other people in on the joke. And just letting everything just fly over everybody's head. And I love that about Fear. God, they're so cool. I mean, this record is just so cool. So I'm going to give it a perfect 3 out of 3 because it's a really great hardcore record. It's one of the best hardcore records I think out there. It really, really is great. And what they were doing, like the lyrics were very sarcastic, but they were also there's a lot of message behind their lyrics too. Like as kind of silly and goofy as they were, there was still like, yeah, let's kind of make fun of like, the like how much money is being made by the big corporations during war. Let's make fun of, just idiot people in general and corporations and everything. Yeah. They just did not give a fuck. I loved it. Yeah. But anyway, see, I give it a perfect 3 out of 3. That's what this record is. So okay. That's all they got. I mean, we're pretty much done with punk season at this point. We're rounding it out with unless we can continue on, but we'll talk about it after the pod. But as far as I know, we're doing a Detroit band, which I won't.
Yeah, that's what I thought. We're
gonna get into a Detroit band, and then we're gonna wrap it up with some one of our favorite bands, and then we'll go into whatever the fuck we want to. So, got a couple weeks left of punk stuffs, and we'll go from there. So, thank you all for listening. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars, share all the posts, tell all your friends. And that's it. That's all.
Moving.